Well, people, this next one, right? It's I really enjoyed this, right? It is called Magnetosphere, right? Magnetosphere. It is the new film from Nicola Rose. She wrote and directed, right? It is produced by Tierney Borbor, Rebecca Heron, Drew Martin. It's executive produced by Ian Schultz. Who else? William Hugh, Stephen Hay, Mark A. Baum, and Nicola Rose. Associate produced by Parth Pandey. And co-executive produced by Mara McCain. Matthew Reed took care of the music. Matea Talifa was on cinematography. Jessica Hitzman is production design. Set decoration, we have Elizabeth Moran and Tina Tiers, with Hannah Ellis handling costume design. All right, hair and makeup, we have Summer Mellon. That's a great name, isn't it? And our cast. Right, our cast. We have got Maggie, played by Shayelin Martin. Right, her little sister Evie is played by Zooey Schneider. Her mum, Helen, is played by Tania Webb. And her dad, Russell, is played by Patrick McKenna. We then have got her friend Wendy, played by Mikayla Kong. There is Travis, right, played by Stephen Hay. We've got her teacher, Miss Deering, played by Debra McGrath. There is Gil, the handyman, played by Colin Mochrie. We also have got Jessica, the school bully, played by Jordan Gillis. There's Dr. Clooney, played by William C. Cole. Peter, right, played by Bruce Stanfield. Courtney, played by Avery O'Brien. We've got Abigail Yar, playing Brittany. Jordan, played by Foster Hamilton. Miss Hendricks is played by Lisa Cromartie. Our fellow pirates, right, our other performers. We've got Ian, played by Ian Schultz. Trish, Pirate Trish, played by Trish Ranone Deluzio. Pirate Shelley, played by Shelley Gold. And Pirate Ryan, played by Ryan Anthony Muro. I believe that is everyone. Yeah, that is everyone. The gist of the story is 13-year-old Maggie navigates growing up, her first love, and moving to a new town, all while learning she has synesthesia, a condition that makes her see sounds, hear colours, and more. This was an incredibly just sweet story, right? Like, it really did work on so many levels, right? Because we have this young girl just, coping with life, which is just like, oh, man, I think everyone can remember as a little kid, right? Just all of those different transitions that you had to kind of face, right? So we have her dealing with all of this. we also have, that first love, right? That first love, man. So it's we see all of this, but then just this synesthesia, which is funny, right? I didn't know. I think I'd heard of it, kind of, but there was a short film I covered last year. I think also for Dancing with Films. So yeah, it's coming back to that, and this is a completely different film, right? But the way it captures it, and also it's capturing it from a young girl's point of view, right? Because it could be different from an adult, right? So I think what we get does feel like, yes, we are seeing through the eyes of this young girl, Maggie. You know what I mean? And all of that just works, right? I think Nicola has been able to really get great relationships and, the right interactions from the cast, because Maggie and Evie feel like sisters, right? That feels like two sisters. The parents, Russell and Helen, they work as a couple, and it feels like they are the parents of Maggie and Evie. Right? Wendy and Maggie, that friendship. I mean, I felt for Wendy in this fucking film, man. Right? Ah, boy. The story is about Maggie, but you do feel bad for Wendy, But that feels like a good friendship, and the interactions, just all of it works, right? It's believable, and I think that's the important thing for a story like this. It's got to have that kernel of believability, and then anything else, you're just like, whatever. Because the one element of this that, I didn't necessarily gel with, and that was Gil, right? And I should paraphrase that. I think that's the expression, right? Should paraphrase that with, I didn't buy Gil as the handyman, right? Those parts of the film, I didn't necessarily vibe with, it's that light relief, it's that comedy, but it's just not, that wasn't my thing. However, Gil in the Pirates was frigging, I loved that part of the story. That part of the story is frigging fantastic. And the way, because I say, right, even though I didn't like the handyman parts, Colin does he's throwing himself into it all. But when you see him in the pirate bit, the look on his face, oh my gosh, right? And you just think that's how that character would feel, right? That's how Gil would feel in that environment. Colin did a really great job with that. You know what I mean? And I think all of this, right? As I say, these interactions, all of these moments, right? You buy, like the kids being mean. I mean, with that, right? You do think, I think the kids would probably be a bit meaner, right? I think they would say more stuff, but yo, you're not trying to traumatize people, right? You know what I mean? So you could understand them pulling back slightly on that, but again, that cliquey behavior and just all of that, right? Not great, but you're just like, yes, that feels like school. I don't think a lot of us had teachers necessarily like Miss Deering. I think it would be great if you did, you know what I mean? But yeah, those, really enjoyed those elements of it. But this film really sits on the shoulders of Maggie, Wendy, right? Maggie, Wendy, and, you know, Travis. Like, I think they really do bring this to life with, you know, their performances and how they portray their characters. Because I think, especially with the, you know, Stephen with Travis, because he's got to be kind of goofy, but he's also got to be kind of cool, right? Because you've got to be like, oh, yes, Maggie likes him, right? And in her eyes, he's this thing. You know what I mean? So you've got to have those kind of elements, and then, you know, he's a performer too, but he understands in a way what she's going through. And I think, you know what I mean? Like, because that's a difficult situation to be in. You know what I mean? Have a little girl be like, you know, especially, you don't want to be, you know, someone to think it R. Kelly or something. You know what I mean? So it's about, how do I handle this? Right? And we see Travis, you know, he does a great job with all of that, you know? So I really, it kind of reminded me in parts of, I think the film was Unicorn Store, right? It's, so I don't know if it's a Netflix film. I saw it on Netflix a few years back, and it's got, Rotted, Captain Marvel in it. Sure, his name's completely jumped out of my head, but she was in it, and I think Samuel Jackson was in it as well. But that film, oh, it was so sweet, it was so great. And this, it had that same kind of vibe, right? Completely different films, but had that same kind of vibe, you know? I think what we have, you know, this just, their camera work, right? Just all of these elements help bring you into this world, right? The animation, you know, to show us this light, this condition, you know, is really well balanced and played, right? And costume design. There's, you know, again, sometimes when you're dealing with kids, they try and dress them in this weird way, right? But all of this, you know, like the dragon pajamas, I think it was a dragon, right? I mean, they looked fun, ain't gonna lie. I never had anything like that as a little kid. I do wonder, like, would it be that comfortable with wings, lying in wings? But, you know what I mean? Again, it felt like I can see that character wearing those pajamas, right? And also, you know what I mean? It just works because it's a kid, right? It's this kid who's, you know, has these kind of magical thoughts and everything like that. So they really did a fantastic job with everyone, and everyone had their own flavor, their own vibe. You know what I mean? So yeah, Magnetosphere. Right, it is interesting. It was called Magnetosphere, right? Out of all the names, because we get so many names, you know, Travis throws out there. Like, it could have been anything. Magna Carta, right? But yeah, Magnetosphere. It's a really well balanced film, right? I think it works on a family level. You know what I mean? Like, you could bring your kids to watch this and just feel, yeah, everything's cool, right? And you can also watch it as an adult, right? And just be like, it's not dumbed down, you know what I mean? It's not, right? It just works on all those different levels. I think it does enough to explain what this is without having to go, hey, did you know synesthesia is, right? Because we get the explanation and the journey through Maggie's eyes. So all of these things, just work, right? It's a film that will connect with a myriad of different people. And that's the beauty of filmmaking, right? That's the beauty of being able to tell a story. And when you nail it, right? When you do a great job. Now, I know it's available right now on VODs, so all your favorite ones, you will most likely find it on, showing at San Diego Comic-Con, which that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? So look, we'll have all the links on the website, so make sure you go and check out Magnetosphere. I do not think you will be disappointed.